What is up, CSGs? Your Houston Rockets are sitting at 32-14, number 2 in the West, number 2 ranked team in the NBA power rankings. We have just won so many big games coming up. You look at the schedule at Atlanta on a back-to-back tonight, held them to 96 points, 100 to 96. Went to Boston, beat them boys last night in a crazy game, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit, 114-112. Went to Cleveland, beat them boys, best team in the league, beat them 135-131, beat Cleveland at home. Last L was to Detroit off just a midday game, which we kind of expect a lot of those games. I don't know what it is about the Rockets, but those midday games usually are L's for us, right? They're usually L's for us. Portland dub, lost in Sacramento in a controversial ending, beat Denver, beat Memphis again. Washington, Lakers beat them, lost to Boston, beat Dallas. Then we had those one possession games, losses to Miami and Minnesota. Easily could have been 2 dubs over there. Just crazy right now for the Houston Rockets, really dominating. This team is for real. You look at their splits right now, the Rockets are just really impressive in what they're doing on the road. I think we have a better record on the road than we do at home. We are currently 16-6 on the road, 72% win percentage on the road compared to our home of 15-7, 68%. How is that significant? You guys remember last season, the Rockets were one of the worst road teams in the league. I forgot how many games. At this point, we probably only had 4 or 5 road wins. To see that turnaround is just a testament to the development of the team. Just overall, just dominating. Getting a lot of praise from the national NBA media, rightfully so. Ime Udoka getting talks for Coach of the Year. Obviously, the Thompson buzz. People are starting to see what he does on a big stage, and that's really what it's about. When you play these games, when you start winning, it really does bring a lot of attention to your players. That's the main difference between being selected for All-NBA, for All-Star team, Coach of the Year, Sixth Man of the Year, and just being a good player that's on a okay to decent to bad team, right, is winning. Winning does cure all, and the Rockets are doing that. The question is, how are they doing that? I'm going to try to talk through some of the things I'm seeing from the team in this podcast. Tap in. Enjoy. So the question is, how are the Houston Rockets winning these games? When you look at our lineup data, the current starting lineup, it's still a negative. Like in aggregate, I think it's a total in the month of January with a lineup of Fred, Jalen, Amen, Dylan, and Şengün is currently like a minus 24. When you look at it on the advanced rating, so if I pull up the advanced rating for this lineup, they're a minus 5.9 in 176 minutes played. You look at the numbers, not really the best shooting lineup. The defense is probably one of the worst in our lineups, 122 defensive rating. The assist percentage is low. The assist to turnover ratio is low. The rebounding numbers are lower than our general lineups. The pace is a little bit, it's in between, not really the fastest pace. You look through everything, rebound, offense rebound, half court, transition. There's nothing that is really elite in aggregate about our current starting lineup, except in the fourth quarter. In the fourth quarter, this is where the Rockets are really doing their damage against a lot of teams. In the fourth quarter, that same lineup that has 122 defensive rating in the fourth quarter, that lineup has a 104 defensive rating, which is damn near a 20-point swing, 18-point swing. They have 120 offensive rating, which is nuts. 6 plus 16 in the fourth quarter. That's Fred, Dylan, Jalen, Alperen, and Amen. Plus 16 in fourth quarters in the month of January. And you think all the games that we've played that I listed off earlier, all the matchups against playoff caliber contender level teams, this is what this team is giving you, is just the ability to really play defense. The shooting is okay. The pace is hella slow. A 93 pace is crazy. That is 1993, 94. This is old school. And obviously we know what happens in the fourth quarters of games. The game slows down. You get your ball to Şengün, which he's going to take, Lord knows how many seconds to get. Feel for the defense, and when they commit, he kicks it out or hands it off to a a rolling player, which leads to us getting either a cut to the basket, we get a slash where he takes the one-on-one and either makes the layup or passes it off to somebody on the three or to a man, or you just get into these really slow, steady actions. And this is something that I've been saying for the past kind of year and a half about the Rockets. They play a playoff brand of basketball. They played in the regular season. I think they asked the question of Ime Udoka in the press conference after the Boston game yesterday about whether he thinks teams are kind of surprised by how good the Rockets are. And here's his response.
Do you feel like on a nightly basis you guys are surprising other teams with how good you are?
I wouldn't say so anymore. I mean, we're over halfway through now, and our record is what it is, and so it's not just a fluke or anything. And you know, people watch film and they see the physicality and the way we play. It's a little different from the rest of the league, and so maybe that catches people off guard, you know, initially. But I wouldn't say we're sneaking up on anybody anymore, you know, at this point in the season.
So you can see clearly he sees that we play with a different type of physicality. We really are different in the NBA in the sense that we will grind the game to a halt and make every possession feel like it's the end of the world. And this is something that, even though it's almost like, what's the term that people use, where it's organized chaos, for us, the gritty, the slow, the heavy moments have become routine because Ime has trained these dudes, whether by choice or by just how poorly we are as a shooting team, that we have to go through a lot of these slow down actions so we don't turn the ball over, et cetera, et cetera. However we got there, hook or crook, this is what they're bred and born in. This is like in Dragon Ball Z, when you know, I'm an anime nerd. In Dragon Ball Z, when Goku was traveling to the planet Namek, and he was training in that capsule that was his spaceship, and he could change the gravity, right? He could change 20 times gravity, 100 times gravity. The Rockets basically play every game at 100 times gravity, which would be the NBA equivalent of the immenseness of a playoff game, a playoff fourth quarter. So we are used to that level of intensity. And when these teams feel our physicality, when they feel that the level of just oomph and the you know, the kind of the push that we put on them in the fourth quarter, the level of just scrappiness, the level of aggressiveness, it really does catch them by surprise. And a lot of these teams, even the vet teams, they're not ready for this level in January, right? This is something a lot of players build up to as the season goes along. When you get to the playoffs, the mentality changes, but the Rockets are basically conditioned to play in close games. And in the fourth quarter, this is where we're making our bones. A plus 16 net rating for your starting five in the fourth quarter is hella impressive. And this is really, really good for us because you know, with the quote unquote spacing issues that you look at that lineup, you know, Jalen, you know, he's been shooting better lately. But between Şengün and the man Thompson and the way teams play us, you would think that they're able to scheme us out a little bit more. But we find ways to execute. And a lot of it has to do with the versatility of a man Thompson. Right, the versatility, and I'm going to do an ISO on him in a second. But just to show you how the Rockets are winning, it really does come down to late game execution in the fourth quarter. And to me, what does that mean for their playoff chances? I think that we are probably one of the teams that, if you're going to look at teams that are inexperienced, that you kind of want to put, if I was to put money on a young team to make some noise in the playoffs, the Rockets are it. And you look at it, we got guys that have playoff experience. Dylan Brooks has been in the playoffs. Fred VanVleet has fought his way to a championship, but we are led by younger players. So this level of competition, going on the road, being able to play under duress, playing under scrutiny of the crowd, playing under, and just, you know, sometimes the refs are screwing us and they still get it done. Hella impressive. You got to give it a lot of kudos to Ime Udoka. To me, he is the coach of the year right now. Over the Cleveland coach, JB Bickerstaff, just because we went to the, you know what I mean, what that song say? Go to your trap and take over your trap. Yeah, we did that, bro. Like we took over his trap, right? You can't get smacked on back-to-back meetings with a team and then say, yeah, you the coach. You got out coached. You got outcoached in that Cleveland game. They try to, they didn't have an answer for Alperen Şengün. In the first game, they were complaining about it, so they try to really throw a lot at him in the second game. Then you got Jalen going off in that game. You had Amen go off in that game. You had Şengün still go off in that game, and they just couldn't solve that riddle, right? So then, and so you got outcoached, bro. Like, if you can't schematically address an issue in 2 games in a row, if it's a head-to-head matchup, I'm giving that to Ime Udoka. But the reason the Rockets are winning these games, despite some of the CTE you see from a quarter-to-quarter basis, is that they can close. These are closers, and that bodes well for the playoffs. That is what you want to see from a young team. This is what really that you're kind of cultivating this playoff mentality, this grittiness. The downside to that level is what we saw tonight against Atlanta, right? The downside to that, and I was talking to a friend about this, is just the wear and tear, the accumulated fatigue, the accumulated just exhaustion that it has on the players. And I think that's a real deal. I think that, if you look at our shooting splits for home and away games, we are on, when we have 3 days or more rest, our team is, or 2 or more rest, something like that, 2 or more days of rest, we're shooting like 40% as a team. And the less rest we have, those one day off games, our shooting is just not bad. It's literally a upward, like your emoji where on your phone that has the little thing that goes up. That is a Rocket shooting based on how much rest they get. It goes from like 30% off on back-to-backs to all the way up to 43% based on how many days of rest that we get. So, I mean, the playoffs does have a longer rest period, so you're not going a game on, then you get a day off and come back for a game. You get usually 2 games off on a night. The problem is that the fourth quarters in the playoffs are longer, meaning it's not just the fourth quarter. A lot of times you get into possession battles earlier in the game in the playoffs, and later in the series, the whole damn game is the fourth quarter, right? And so if we have a kryptonite, honestly, it's not just our shooting, which I think could be problematic in the playoffs. I think the kryptonite is going to be our overall accumulated fatigue in a long series. If we took a team long, now you would hope that our force and the level of physicality we play would also wears them down, right? You hope that it's a mutual destruction, that even though we're playing that style, we're forcing them into a style. But if we meet a team that can mix up their styles against ours, it might not. But so that's why, to me, I'm very big on the matchups the Rockets get, because I think that's really going to determine a lot about how successful they are. But that is really what it comes down to, right? It comes down to the fourth quarters. A lot of the issues with us looking not so great in those other quarters is just still trying to figure out, different roles. It's like we still do your turn. Okay, you go and cook. Okay, it's my turn. I think in the fourth quarter, it's more of here's the game plan for today. This is what we're going to do, right? We're going to run this action. We're going to hunt this mismatch. I would love to see them get more disciplined in doing that from the start of the game to the end of the game. But you understand, with as many talented players as we have, sometimes you just, as a coach, you want to get some guys early looks to see if they can get going. And maybe it's going to be that early spark that gets them going for the rest of the game. So the Rockets they're kicking ass in the fourth. That's kind of their secret recipe right now. That's really how we are able to play. I read off a lot of these scores, man. These games are close. We're playing nail biters every single night. It's just crazy. 4-point win against Atlanta, 2-point win against Boston, 4-point win against Cleveland, 1-point win against Cleveland. Detroit put belt to ass. Portland, that's not a real team, beat them by damn near 30. 5-point loss to Sacramento, and that was a hella close game. Destroyed Denver. 2-point against Memphis. 4 points against Memphis. So it's especially these high caliber playoff teams. We are really playing a lot of close games, and I think this can only be great for the playoffs as far as it trains us on how to execute in late game situations. And a lot of it, once again, does come down to us being primed for this starting as early as last season. Once again, there's drawbacks to this style of basketball. There's drawbacks to trying to grind out and grit every game. There's drawbacks to all your actions being really predicated on a lot of isolation, downhill attacks, post-ups, these bang-bang plays. But it's like body shots in boxing, right? You keep hitting the body, you keep hitting the body, them legs start getting weak, that wind start, and over time, the accumulated body shots does lend to teams just tapping out. A lot of teams tap out against the Rockets. They tap out because it just gets too hard. Their legs are gone. They can't hit their shots. Shout out to Darius Garland missing hella free throws against us, giving us that dub. So that is what the Rockets are doing. Keep an eye on that, how we execute late in the fourth quarter to really, really see what we are successful at. The talk of the NBA is Amen Thompson and his great performance against Boston. And honestly, his performances since he's been in the starting lineup, he has really, really added a kind of a different level of offense to the Rockets that they hadn't had in the past, with his ability to cut the instant transition play. He is just gives us an extra dimension that the team really, really benefits from, given the fact that all the stuff I said about how we play really slow down. Amen really does speed up a lot of the pace that we have, and that opens up a lot of channels for other players. It opens up more paint touch opportunities for our shooters. It opens up a lot of opportunities for him and Jalen to get into two-man action when he's a screener and dives to the basket. It can make plays on the short roll, can attack the bigs or other even smalls on the short roll. Obviously, him in the dunker spot is the outlet valve for Şengün in the post-ups, him cutting off the weak side corner, and you get the occasional corner three from a man. So he is just dynamic, filling in a bunch of holes on the offense right now. Just a revelation as a player. And not to talk of elite level defense, right? You can throw him on Jason Tatum. You could throw him on Trae Young. You could throw him on Ja Morant. You can throw him on damn near anybody, any perimeter scorer in the NBA, and they're going to have a bad night. They're going to have an off night. Since he's been in the starting lineup this season, not just with Jabari Hurt, Rockets are 13-3. He's had 119 offensive rating to 111 defensive rating. That's what plus 7.9. He is just a great player for the Rockets for his age. The thing that's really impressive with Amen, honestly, is the fact that he is just in the second year in the league. I think for me, for all the prospects that the Rockets have drafted, he probably has had the highest floor as far as a player, meaning that from day one, not day one, he kind of struggled in his first game, but from pretty much the first couple weeks in the NBA, he's been a starter level player. And then with the more opportunities he has, the better he's gotten, which does pass the Daryl Morey kind of philosophy on a potential star player. Meaning if you give a guy in small doses of opportunities and they produce, you give them small doses of opportunities, they produce. And then as you increase that opportunity and those reps and those possessions, the production is exponential, then you probably got a star in your hand. And I think that's what we're looking at. I think that's what we're looking at right now with Amen Thompson. I think he is having one of the better young careers so far. And to me, he's just scratching the surface. That is really the scary part of Amen's development, is that he is scratching the surface on what he can do as a player. I had made a video about the Rockets' top prospects. I posted it on Twitter from July 2023. This is when we first drafted him in, before I think after the summer league. My sentiment for him was that at baseline, he should be able to play defense, which definitely is something that he's doing at an elite level. At baseline, he's bigger, faster, and stronger than most of the perimeter kind of guards, maybe not all the wings. But with his athleticism and explosion, he's top 0.01% in the league and everything he does. At baseline, he's going to be an impactful rebounder. At baseline, with just his IQ, he's going to be able to make plays both offensively and defensively. And this has all come to fruition for him. I did not envision this version of him, how good and impactful he is this early in his career, and which is scary, because I still think personally there are huge gaps in his game. Amen has a lot of flaws in his game, and what he is doing right now is off of just pure talent and IQ. He hasn't even added a lot of the skill development that comes with multiple years in the league. If we've seen from some of our other players, like Jabari, who's improved year in, year out, like we've seen from Jalen Green, that we've seen from Şengün, as these guys come back and improve on huge aspects of their games that were big deficiencies, whether it's shot making, whether it's defense, so Amen has only had one summer basically as a pro. and he is already doing what he's doing. So for me, when I look at his upside or whatever it is you want to call it, there's really, to me, because I trust his work ethic, because I've seen the rapid development in a short time, I think that really the sky's the limit. Whatever he wants to focus on, that's what he's going to get better at. Currently, as a starter, he is just, he's doing what he's supposed to do. I'm trying to pull up his numbers for his starting. Let's see. As a starter for the Rockets, he has played 15 games, averaging 18 points, shooting 57% from the field on almost 13 shots, which is good. 21 from three, 70% from the free throw line, a plus 6.2, 10.9 rebounds, 3.7 assists, 2 steals, almost 2 blocks. Just a stat stuffer, just everywhere with it. So you're averaging 18, 10, and 4 just as a second-year player. 18, 10, and 4. 18, 10, and 4. That is some Ben Simmons level production, who I think he might have been All-NBA in his second or third year in the league. So I think for Amen, the thing that's hurting him, he doesn't have a lot of opportunities right now as in the starting 5. So I think he may be up for Sixth Man of the Year. I think that's something he definitely, with his defense and his offense, he should be Sixth Man of the Year. I can't think of a better sixth man than Amen Thompson. I don't know what the threshold for starting is. He may beat it, because I'm not sure if the Rockets are going to put him back on the bench. And I think it's really going to come down to the context of the team and where we are at the point when Jabari comes back. I think there's a lot of calls for him to start. I don't know how Ime thinks. But I guarantee you it's not based on what he sees on Twitter. So coaches are weird people. Right? They do not see the game or rosters or playing time as like regular people do. That's why some of the lineups we see are like, what is he doing? They don't. It's different, bro. They look at different things. They're more concerned about the collective game than kind of spots. So, and you could really glean a lot from what Ime thinks about, how who starts, who doesn't. From his press conferences, because he thinks about it as not just one piece. It's like a continuous puzzle of, okay, if this guy's not here, then this guy needs to be here. So, very well, Jabari could be moved to the bench. I think definitely Amen has made a case to start probably since last season, honestly. And Tari Eason has made cases to start at different points. I just think that for me, either way, I'm cool, because I think that the main thing is Amen is getting minutes. Like, he needs to play hella minutes. And depending on the matchup, there are some games where he has to start if he doesn't. But there's a good chance that, Jabari may just lose his spot. He may get who the Tom Brady did to, was it Drew Bledsoe, I think, that he came in, or Vinny Testaverde, I don't remember. But yeah, you may get Tom Brady, bro. Like, you may get Tom Brady off of injury. It just may happen like that, as great as he is playing right now. But once again, like, he is just scratching the surface on his game, right? You think about how a man really scores right now. He is kind of cleaning up after his teammates. He's getting attacks in transition. He gets, occasional mismatches against bigs that he attacks, dunker spot, lobs, transit, just things like that, right? So that is just off of just pure, just athleticism, talent, hustle, being smart, IQ. He hasn't really mastered the on-ball game. And to me, that is going to be the stratosphere that he needs to get to over the next few years, because with his talent, if he can become an on-ball, not like he has to be like Trae Young or anything like that, but just to me, that Russell Westbrook, that Ben Simmons level creator, where you are just a rim pressure nightmare. And because you're dribbling, and that's really what it comes down to for him. Not much of the shooting. I am very pleased with his touch around the rim. I think he has much better touch, and I saw this early on in the NBA for him. He has really good touch around the rim for a player as powerful and explosive as he is, which, as big and fast as he moved to get to the rim, to be able to stop and just kiss the ball off the glass with the lightest touch, really does show that he has touch. And that touch is also the same type of touch he used to seal that game in Boston, the little mid-range jumper that he hit. So there's the floaters. He already has a mid game, in between game. He has a around the glass. He can finish both hands. He can absorb contact. That part is there. The part that he really needs to work on is the ability to be a pick and roll maestro. And that's what he is not right now in the NBA. Like, you got to, as a perimeter player, you got to cook in the pick and roll. You got to cook in the pick and roll, because out of that set, you can open up a lot of offensive things. The great thing about Amen Thompson, if he never develops that, he can still be one of the best players in the league, because he is so versatile. And what I mean by that, from his time playing the 5 when Şengün went down, he learned how to screen. To me, that was a valuable timeline for him. Development, kind of a development opportunity for him to learn how to screen, because now he has that in his bag to be a roller that gets him downhill on mismatches. That's one. Great weak side cutter. Great. He can play in the dunker spot. Obviously, he can play on ball, a great transition guy. So the reason this is important, when you get to the playoffs with his perimeter shooting deficiencies, when teams try to scheme players like that out, we've seen it with players that are sort of his archetype, the Russell Westbrooks, the Giannis's of the world, the Ben Simmons. What do? Make a wall, force him to shoot. The thing is, with Amen, he doesn't have to be on ball, right? It took, I don't know how many years it took for Russ to start screening. He just started doing it, and it took Ty Lue, honestly, because he wasn't screening that much on the Lakers, and he started screening when he got to the Clippers, when it was kind of like the curtains are closing, bro. Your career, you're on the back end of your career, right? There's ego and pride in that. I never really seen Ben Simmons he screened a little bit, but yeah, I guess they used him. I would say Ben did kind of screen, but Ben Simmons mentally, I don't know where that is. Ben is a dog, bro. He's a dog, right? He's never going to be scared of the shot, as we saw against Boston. He's not scared to go to the free throw line, right? He's going to get his nose in there. He's going to get dirty. And then the ability to do everything on the court from different angles, everything. So I could be off ball. I could be on ball. To be an off ball effective scorer as a non-shooter is that alone with his defense would make him one of the best like wings in the league. This, top 5, top 10 wings in the league. But if you can develop that on-ball creation, which we see glimpses, like tonight against Atlanta, coach let him kind of initiate a lot of the actions. They try to do I wouldn't call it a 5-1 pick and roll, because he's not really a 5, but basically the same actions they run with Şengün, they're doing with Amen, where Fred comes from the corner and then sets a screen for Amen, and it kind of forces Fred's man to be attacked by a bigger player, right? And you see those actions to try to get him downhill, where they inverted that, because now they put Şengün in the dunker spot. If you guys remember from the late in this Atlanta game, where he tried to dish it off, but Dyson Daniels hit it off his hand and went out of bounds. So these are the things, like, basically Amen could play think how crazy this is. Amen could be in the action they ran against Atlanta. He was the ball handler. Fred was the screener. Alp was in the dunker spot, right? And he could play all 3 positions, because there are times where he's the screener. Fred is the ball handler. Alp's in the dunker spot. Or there are times where Fred is the ball handler, Alp's the screener, Amen's the dunker spot. Or there are times where Alp's the ball handler, Fred is the screener, Amen is the dunker spot. So you think about that. You could be Jalen in the screen, It's just so beautiful. It's beautiful because when you look at collectively all our prospects, they kind of fit. They fit in a weird way. I think right now, I would say the gaps in the roster really aren't really with the core, more as some of the supporting players around them. I think Fred is serving his purpose right now, but I could see a future where you do try to bring a player that's probably more of a consistent shot maker in that role, even though Fred is shooting lights out right now. I think Dylan is serving a great purpose. At some point in the future, you want one of those guys to step into that role. And then off the bench, you just probably a little bit more spacing. But I'm with everything that the Rockets are trying to do right now. That does bring me to the news about De'Aaron Fox being available for trades. No, like I love Fox, but I think what the Rockets are doing right now, and this may look stupid in a couple weeks if we crash out, but I just think that you owe it to these guys to allow them to see how far they can get as a group, right? As a group, and that's down to the bench guys. If you want to make a real deep bench move to try to improve a position like a big, or you bring in a wing that could shoot, or a guard or something like that, I get that. 8th or 9th guy, right? But as far as I look at this roster right now, as they're beating all the best teams in the league, they're number 2 in the West, number 2 in NBA power rankings. I really don't see a need to really shake up the shake the boat, to rock the boat. Let them cook. Let them boys cook, man. Even if they crash out in the first round, you owe them to really see how far they could take this thing, because I think collectively they've overperformed in pretty much every category that we expected them to, right? So I think for them, it would be right for them to just go through the season. Now that's from a ethical standpoint. Financially, we don't need to really do anything right now. Like I already said, the Rockets are the 26th or 25th cheapest team in the league. If you have the number 2 record in the West and you're number 2 in power rankings and you have one of the cheapest salaries as a front office, why even do anything? OKC's in the same situation. Like, they've made little minor upgrades, but their rosters are still dirt cheap because a bunch of guys are on rookie contracts. So you don't really need to do anything right now. Just let it play out and see what happens. And this summer, you could really address a lot of those team needs that you have. You can make a big move depending on how it goes out in the playoffs. What are things you're trying to supplement? Honestly, you really can't evaluate what your ultimate needs are till you get into the playoffs. Everybody's going to be tested in the playoffs. We're going to find out if Şengün's defense can he hold up in the fourth quarters in games in the playoffs when you're playing a team that's going to hunt, as we're seeing teams. And shout out to him for his effort against Boston, for doing what he did. You're going to see if Amen's shooting, it does become a problem. Our teams, because he doesn't get game planned against. You know what I mean? I know a lot of people are, oh my God, Amen is the – yeah, but slow down, bro. Amen has a lot of development to go. The perimeter shooting is going to be something that he's going to be tested. But you heard Jaylen Brown say it. JB said that basically the people we dare to beat us, right? So they wanted Amen Thompson and Dillon Brooks to beat the Celtics, and they did. So it's one thing to be Jaylen where they're blitzing you every play, right? And still have to have an answer for that. It's one thing where you're out and you're seeing doubles and traps every play and still have an answer for that. Like, they could scheme out guys. If guys get schemed out and say, you know what, we're okay with Jaylen shooting 30 shots, we're going to take Amen and Şengün out. Or we're okay with Şengün posting up. We don't care. He could score all the twos he wants. We're just going to outshoot them and make sure Amen Thompson and Jalen Green don't get going. Or et cetera, whoever they want to take out. How do you respond to being schemed out? That is what everybody goes through that in the playoffs. And then your whole team can get schemed out based on their weaknesses. These are things that help you build your roster. Then it's not really saying, like, let's say somebody does struggle, one of our young guys. The response shouldn't be because this player looked bad in the playoff series because they got schemed out. Let's move on from them. No, your response is, how do we supplement that? How do we supplement a man? How do we surround him with players that complement his skill set, that get him, that he can, use his rim pressure and force the defense into a do or die situation? How do we supplement Şengün? How do we supplement Jaylen, et cetera, et cetera? How do we supplement our players? And that's when you start making moves like, okay, let's get this movement shooter. Let's get this guy over here. Let's do this. So right now, Stone doesn't need to do anything. He's chilling. Like, if he makes a little side move, that's cool. But as the team is constructed, I think the front office owes it to them. I think unless Ime has different plans, I think it is something I'd like to see how far this team could go as they're currently constructed. But Amen Thompson is a special, special player. I think when you look at him, with the physicality that he brings with the stature, I'm gonna quote y'all know my coach, my former O-line coach from PV. Shout out to Coach Pierce. He's built like a Greek god. Right? When you see these guys that are built like Hercules, and a lot of time, but they play like Hercules, that's a separator, right? You look at all our other prospects. Şengün's kind of undersized. Jalen's kind of small for his position, his frame. You know what I mean? Jabari limited with his, he's not a super freak athlete. Tari Eason has pretty good size, but not really as polished or explosive as you would really see in the upper tier. Reed Shepherd is undersized for a guard in this position. Amen Thompson is big for his position. He's bigger, faster, stronger, and he has the mental makeup to really be a great player. He has the IQ. He has the work ethic. He has the type of attitude you like. He's a team player. This is a dude that is tough. He is just a grinder, does the dirty work. He can play anywhere on the court, and he's just scratching the surface on his talent. But I think that this year is a great year for all our guys to kind of see where they are. I can't wait for the playoffs. They still have a rough stretch of games coming up. Let's see who they got coming up so far. we have, let's see, the Rockets schedule. Let's see if it lightens up a bit. Memphis. Damn, we got Memphis on in 2 days. I think that's Thursday. That's going to be on TNT, so that'll be fun. We get a little break with Brooklyn. Got New York, then Brooklyn again. I'm okay with that. I think that's a decent stretch. Got Minnesota, Dallas, Toronto, Phoenix, Golden State, Minnesota, Utah, Milwaukee. It's all right. It's all right. We got to start thinking like we're a good team. So I'm not worried about a lot of these teams, bro. I ain't going to hold you. Now, we might, you know what I mean, we're liable to give up a game to a Toronto or something like that out of lack of focus. But it seems like our guys get up for the big games. But appreciate y'all, man, for coming through to the channel. If you are new to this channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you like this video, hit the like button. Keep rocking with the Chop Shop, and we're going to keep dropping that fire.
DJ Candlestick. It's the Chop Not Slap Show.